Imagine a journey that should have taken you 2 hours, but you end up doing about 11 hours. This is the kind of experience travelers in Africa sometimes go through due to the unavailability of direct flights. Nyarko shares his experience from Accra to Malabo, which should have lasted 2 hours by direct flight, in the absence of which he had to transit through Addis Ababa before hitting Accra, his final destination.
Trade is widely accepted as an important engine of economic growth and development. Unlike other regions in the world, where trade has helped in facilitating the lifting of millions out of the web of poverty, Africa is yet to realize that, thus leaving the continent to be dependent on aid. Africa's share in global trade pegged at 3%, while intra-African trade stands at 10% compared with Europe, 60% and 40% in North America. Several factors account for the inability of the continent to use trade as a catalyst for economic growth and poverty alleviation. These include transportation, differences in trade regimes, finance, trade information and restrictive customs procedures, among others. With regards to transportation, air transport on the continent of Africa is not the best. And years ago, it was normal for someone traveling to an African country to go to Europe before coming back. I've been to Equatorial Guinea twice, first in December 2012 and the latest one being December last year. And per my travel plan, though Malabo, the capital of Equatorial Guinea, is in the central part of Africa, I moved from Accra in West Africa to Addis Ababa, the capital of Ethiopia, which is in the east of the continent, before heading to my destination. The distance from Accra to Addis Ababa is about 5.5 hours, and the flight from Accra takes off at 12:30 in the afternoon and arrives in the Ethiopian capital at 8:50 p.m. in the night. On arrival at the Bole airport, I realized that authorities of Ethiopia had taken the Ebola disease very serious and were leaving nothing to chance. The Ebola screening was not only once but twice. Even after the screening, one has to fill a form to indicate that he or she has not traveled to any of the countries that have been hit with the Ebola pandemic. The countries are Sierra Leone, Liberia, Guinea, and Mali. And since my flight was the next day, I was taken to a hotel with other passengers in Addis Ababa. This afforded me the opportunity to see Addis Ababa, which has many of its taxis, as Lada, a Russian-made vehicle. The next morning, we set off to Malabo, the capital of Equatorial Guinea, which is about 4 hours 45 minutes flight. Equatorial Guinea, by economic indicators such as per capita income, is the highest in Africa with about $20,000, but its airport cannot be compared with that of Ethiopia. Some analysts say per the population, it will not be prudent to build an airport like that of Bole in Addis Ababa. I could not film the Ebola screening at the airport of Malabo, but I must say it was not as intensive as that of Ethiopia. Upon my return to Addis Ababa, I was impressed about how the Ethiopians have succeeded in maintaining a high standard when it comes to the run of a national airline. At the moment, Ethiopia Airlines is the leading airline company in Africa, followed by South Africa Airways and Kenya Airways.
Helping others.
In the plane, I met a Chinese medical doctor who was going to Liberia as a volunteer. His name is Wang Bin, and this was his first trip to Africa.
I'm going to fight against Ebola and from China.
Which specific place in China? Which province?
Which province?
Yes, in China, Shanghai or Guangzhou.
I'm from Shanghai.
The 5.5-hour journey from Ethiopia to Ghana was very smooth, but at the Kotoka International Airport, the battle against Ebola was on. After the Ebola screening, I realized that the Kotoka International Airport is undergoing some transformation. There used to be about 6 decks here, but now there are more than that, a sign that some transformation is underway at the airport. Though tired from the long winding journey, we on the Ethiopian Airlines had to go through another unpleasant experience because our luggage were left at Addis Ababa. None of us were in the know that our luggage would be left behind until we arrived in Accra. The formalities we had to go through took us about 1 hour 30 minutes. One of the people most affected was this Chinese medical doctor who was on his way to Liberia as a volunteer of the UN to help in the fight against Ebola in Liberia.
I'm waiting for Malabo.
He was supposed to pass a night in Accra and proceed the next day to Monrovia, but was told he has to wait for the next 3 days. The question is who will pay for his hotel bills. I, for one, had to go home and come back to the airport later to pick my bag, which was another cost in terms of transportation. My enquiries at the airport showed that Ethiopia Airlines is noted for picking passengers and leaving their bags behind, and this, according to the traders who go to China, slow down their business. In all this, what I learned was that if Ghana Airways and Ghana International Airlines had not collapsed, a journey of 2 hours wouldn't have taken me 11 hours. That is from West Africa to East Africa, and then to my final destination, Malabo in Central Africa. Also, if things stand as it is now, then trade among African countries can hardly move beyond the current 10%, as reported by the Economic Commission for Africa. Nyarko, reporting for GBC 24.